An explosive fight has broken out inside a courtroom in New Mexico. Alexander Ortiz is on trial for fatally shooting his ex-girlfriend. The family of the victim lashed out, throwing punch after punch. A corrections officer was injured trying to break up the brawl. The victim's uncle was one of two people charged with battery. He later told reporters it was, quote, worth every moment.
Welcome, guys. Look, there's this saying that blood is thicker than water. And that saying goes to depict the closeness and the bond between family. And I tell you, although there are some outliers who make that statement sometimes not completely true, there are also others who make it absolutely a fact. That is what is playing out in this case. The video you just saw is not a movie. It is not a movie, trust you me. This happened in the United States of America, specifically at Albuquerque, New Mexico. And this is a courtroom scene. And it happened during a homicide case hearing where, in this case, there is a guy who has been accused of unaliving his girlfriend. And he's on trial. He's the guy in the orange jumpsuit. So the trial is ongoing. And as has been the trend, the families of both sides will be at the courtroom, in addition to others who are there for other purposes with regards to the case. So in this case, the victim's family is there, and then the suspect's family is there. And what you saw is two male relatives of the victim attacking the suspect whilst the trial is ongoing. And that erupted into a full-blown fight. Now, this fight began when the two relatives jumped over the gallery divider and charged at the suspect. And then an inmate and the father of the accused also got involved. So you then see that a Metropolitan Detention Center guard also intervenes, but then he was also attacked and drawn into the fight. Now, the first two men you saw starting the fight are Carlos Lucero and Pete Yassi, and they were both arrested and charged with battery on a peace officer and assault on a jail. Now, there's also a female suspect, but then she is at large, and an arrest warrant has been issued for her. But the thing is, for starters, Pete Yassi and Carlos Lucero, this is the uncle and the father of the victim. And you can see their rage. You can see their blood is boiling as they undertake this thing. Sorry. Now, somebody was like, this is a courtroom, you have to comport yourself. And that is a fact. I understand that. I respect that. But then again, this is where that saying that blood is thicker than water begins to play out. It can play out in different forms. It just talks about the fact that family should be closer together, family should look out for each other, family should protect each other, and these are facts. But then again, on the dark side, it also can mean that if you touch someone's family, they will come after you. That is where the emotion begins to meet the law. Because the law expects that even if somebody has wronged you or a family member of yours, leave it to the law to do its work. And that is how it's supposed to be. And that is what I advocate for. Because we are all subject to the rule of the law. Every country has its constitution, and the constitution is supreme. So if the constitution says this, it has to be that. And in any case, the guy is a suspect. He is not guilty until the court proves him guilty, or until he's found guilty in a competent court of law. So as it stands now, he's presumed innocent until proven guilty. But in these guys attacking him, it's almost as though they are rendering jungle justice. They've made themselves judge and jury, and they've rendered a sentence, and they are dishing out punishment, which is not how the law works. So straight out of the gate, this father and uncle are totally wrong, and definitely they are going to face severe charges. But then, that is when you put it in the perspective of the law. It's very accurate. But then, if you put it with regards to how far some family members will go and be willing to sacrifice themselves to get a justice they believe is enough, or at least does some good in the interim, because they are also not even sure how the case will end, then you begin to see why this uncle and father of the victim will do this. Because one of them was interviewed and he told the security authorities that he doesn't have any regrets that he did this. He embraces the charges, he will serve them. And it tells you that these guys are literally ready to die to get at this suspect who they have concluded is the culprit. Because sometimes it's almost as though the people actually know that this is the person who did it. Sometimes it's quite obvious to people who did the crime, just that they knowing for a fact the person did the crime, or they strongly believing the person did the crime, it's not enough for the person to just be sentenced. It has to go through legal proceedings. And honestly, sometimes some people beat the case, either because they were wrongly accused and that they are innocent, or sometimes because of security mistakes that the agencies who investigated made, or sometimes even because there isn't enough evidence because the culprit was smart enough to cover his tracks, and so they literally get away with the crime. And that is where these things begin to manifest. When people begin to lose confidence in the justice system, or when people begin to lose control of their emotions and they believe that they can render justice better than the court. And in this case, you see that when the two men, the father and the uncle of the victim, attacked the suspect, his lawyer literally ducked out of the way. Yeah, because you actually you contracted him to defend you in the court of law, not to defend you in a fight, physical fight, fisticuffs in the court of law. It's going to be a conversation in court of law, not a fisticuff. So I don't fault him for ducking. And then the third man who comes in wearing the black shirt, he is the father of the suspect. Now there are some people who are faulting him and saying they have problems with him for intervening because he has no right because of what his son is alleged to have done. Now, I beg to differ. Not that I support the violence in any form, or I support the son contrary to what he's been accused of. No. I am taking it from the perspective of a father, or let me say a parent for that matter. He's sitting there. He hasn't tried to break his son out of jail or break his son out of court. He's sitting there watching the proceedings. He's not fighting the judge. He's not fighting the legal system. He's there probably to provide solidarity and support for his son, who is actually on trial and is deemed he will be found guilty, or the court will decide the case on its merits and whatever justice will prevail. So this father is there. He hasn't caused any crime by being there. But when things escalate to the point he's watching his son being beat up, come on. It doesn't matter at that point whether his son is actually guilty or not. He will intervene. He will intervene because at that point, his parental instincts will kick in. His fatherly instincts will kick in. And he will come into the fight. And you saw the damage these guys were doing. It was intense. Some were bleeding. And it's crazy. I think this might be a reference point for the court to also look at its security measures going forward. Because there was a total breakdown. And additional support had to be introduced into the courtroom before calm was restored. And the thing is, this could have been worse than it actually got, because with what was going on, imagine although I'm sure they were searched. Imagine somebody got his hands on maybe a pen or something, or when the security officer at the courtroom who was drawn into the fight, imagine he was overpowered and someone got access to his weapon. It could have gone crazy or berserk. And I think that this should be a reference point for some reforms. This is my 2 cents. But all in all, this case has evolved into something else. Some are saying that the father and uncle shouldn't be prosecuted because what has been done to their relative, allegedly by this suspect, they are justified. But then I always say this is where the emotion meets the law. And when emotion meets the law will win. You can be sentimental, you can understand them, but you can't condone. That's the thing. Even the law itself at a point may understand certain things. That's how come there's a part of the law that factors in the possibility of provocation being the root cause of a crime. But even with that, it doesn't mean the law is condoning you doing something out of provocation, but it will factor that in with regards to the judgment that will be rendered in court. So as it stands now, Carlos Lucero and PTRC are facing the justice system, and they are going to go through the system. I respect the law and I understand. But on another level, some are also saying they also understand these guys. What do you think about this case? Let me know your views in the comment section. I'm following as and when there are updates, I'll let you know. Subscribe if you are yet to do so, please. We are really trying our best to give you everything that is out there. And all you can do to support us is just hit the subscribe button, and we really appreciate that. Take some lessons from this, share with your friends. These cases are not just to inform you, but also to educate, so that we build a blueprint of security as we go through our daily lives. We advise ourselves, we try to be emotionally intelligent on certain things, because Charlie, one bad decision can just mess you up for the rest of your life. I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.